Hey, it's Courtney Shaw. Welcome back to the Yay for Business podcast. Right now, I'm doing a lot of episodes on the theme of what I call forever content. And I've done a few episodes already on, the state of content marketing in 2026, the changes that I see happening in the online content marketing sphere, and why I think, and I'm making the case for what I call forever content, which is the type of content that is going to last forever, quote unquote. Nothing lasts forever, but Instagram posts certainly don't, right? Like you put an Instagram post out there, it's, dead in a few days, maybe a few weeks at maximum. But if you leverage the platforms that actually give you more and more and more visibility over time, you can reap a lot more rewards, get more clients, more sales from the effort that you put into your content. And yet, everyone seems totally sold on focusing on Instagram as their number one marketing space and not this other way of doing things. And so in the previous episodes, that is the case that I have been making. For example, right now, whether you're watching this on video or listening to the audio, or maybe you read the blog post, if that's the case, you wouldn't be hearing my voice right now, but you were reading it, then that is my forever content. This is content that people are going to, traffic is going to see this content for years after I've created it. And the better job I do, the more visibility that this content is going to get over time. However, I will turn the video clips from this podcast into Instagram posts. Maybe I'll do a carousel or two based on repurposing the content from this podcast episode. And it'll get me some quick visibility right this minute because I happen to have an Instagram audience. But after that, that's it, right? Like I could repost that, whatever, but it's not just going to be out there generating traffic for me. So I feel like people are sold on this idea, but then we run into this problem of the next obstacle, the next hurdle, which is, okay, so what actually makes for a good piece of forever content? What is the anatomy of a piece of content that is going to attract ideal clients to me and then turn those ideal clients into customers, clients, whatever? How do I actually create this piece of content? That's actually going to be a future episode, is the process of this. And I'm going to talk about this in the Forever Content Ecosystem workshop that I'm hosting. So make sure that you look for links around the video or podcast or blog post for that workshop. But the idea of this episode is more the anatomy of what makes it work, because you could create any old blog post or podcast episode or video or, email newsletter. Just because you're checking the box doesn't mean that it's going to work. You could create content right now and it could be on YouTube. It doesn't mean you're going to get views forever if you're not crafting it in a way that is set up to work in the algorithm, right? So there are things that we need to do strategically. So what I'm going to break down in this episode is the anatomy of a piece of content that is going to perform well. And I'm going to make it really simple. And in future episodes, in the next episode, I'm going to give you my formula for coming up with infinite content ideas, strategic content ideas, because I find that so many people I work with, when I ask them what their system is for coming up with content ideas, it's all about what they feel inspired by and what they just random ideas that they have. That terrifies me. That's not a system. There's no other, that's a quintessential example of something in your business that relies 100% on you. That is absolutely terrifying to me. The content I come up with, in no way, shape, or form, the episodes that you see are not just random ideas that I have or inspiration that I have. Sure, that happens sometimes, but that doesn't mean I create content for that. Right now I have this idea. I'd love to do an episode on business lessons from figure skating, but that doesn't mean that I go create an episode on business lessons for figure skating. I still need to run those ideas through the anatomy that I'm going to talk to you about today to make sure that it is strategically doing what forever content needs to do in my business. It's not just creating content for the sake of it. It's not just I have this great idea for a blog post, I'm going to do that. This is almost 10 times out of 10 when I ask people how they come up with content ideas, this is what they're doing, and it's why it's not working. So I need you to watch or listen to or read this episode so that you understand what actually checks the boxes of forever content that is not only going to attract people and traffic to that content, but is actually going to turn readers and traffic into clients. All right. That's the goal. Those are the constraints that we have. So ironically, like not ironically, I guess, like totally makes sense. I have in front of me my plan for this episode. And it is exactly what I'm going to outline for you, what you need to do for your content. Now, mine is just sort of like a 1-page handwritten in my notebook. If you are watching the video, you can see outline of that. And if you saw here, I actually outlined my rainbow of sales. Like I treat every piece of content like I would a sales page for a course. To me, every piece of content, whether it is an Instagram post or a blog post or a podcast episode or a YouTube video, which again are all kind of the same thing for me, they're all getting repurposed from the same thing. I'm still doing the same psychology that I would do on a sales page. So we're going to break that down. And ultimately, what I'm doing here is I started this episode by talking to you about like the state of where we're at in this conversation. I'm trying to meet you at where you are at in this conversation. So what I'm always going to do is I'm going to map out the positioning of an episode, the positioning of a piece of content using my rainbow of sales, the cloud and the gold. And then the rainbow is the content, like whichever way that goes for you, the rainbow in between, the cloud and the gold. The cloud being, where is somebody at right now? What's the pain point? What's the frustration? What are the questions they're asking about this topic? And at the result, the pot of gold being, what is it that they want to achieve? What's the result that they want, that I want to help them to achieve with this piece of content? And then the rainbow connecting those two pieces is what often people would consider like the value in that content. Okay. So even though I tend to be a lot more loose and organic with how I share my content. Like I'm not really scripted. I'm not like when I'm like I create an outline and then I just sort of hit record and I start talking, right? I work well that way. Some people don't. Some people like to have a way more robust plan. That's just not how I work. Like I actually do terribly with that. It's still going to be the same idea. If you listen to any of my podcast episodes or if you want to just go look at the blog, instead to see them quicker, what you're going to notice is I'm always going cloud, gold, rainbow in some fashion. I'm going, okay, where are you at right now? What's the frustration you have right now? What is it that you want? And then let me position what I'm sharing with you in this content to give you the answer, to give you the value that's going to, bridge that gap for you. And then in order to make sure that the content is going to get visibility and make sales, which are two opposite sides of the spectrum, I'm going to make sure that the end of a piece of content, I'm leaving an open loop. I'm making it so that I'm leaving you hanging in some way. This is the part that I know is like maybe the next level of this kind of psychology. So if you're newer to this, that might sound a little, intimidating to try to leave an open loop. This is what we're going to talk about at the Forever Content Ecosystem Workshop. And I'm going to give you a worksheet on how to, map out a piece of content this way, the way I'm talking about in this episode. So make sure you come to that workshop. I hope you can see what I'm doing right there. It's like, that is a little meta. I just left an open loop being, hey, if you're struggling with that, that's not in this episode. Here's where I'm going to give you that. Here's the action you're going to take to get that. That's me leaving an open loop and then giving you a call to action to close that loop. Do you see what I'm doing? And then at the Forever Content Workshop, I'm going to close a loop for you. I'm going to teach you the system, but I'm also going to leave a loop open, which is going to be solved by applying to work with me in the 6-figure sprint. And then when I give you that training, I'm going to close some loops and open some loops, right? Like every piece of content that I do, I treat sales and content the same way. I think sales needs more value in it. I think content needs more sales in it, okay? Is always going to be closing one loop and opening the next one because that's what we're doing, right? We're always learning one thing and then going, oh, now that I have that, I need this. It's just the natural way that learning happens. So that's what you need to be doing in your content. The way that I make, that's what makes it great for sales. Okay. The way that makes a piece of content great for, and there's other things that make it great for sales, which I'll get to. The thing that makes it great for visibility, meaning that over time, you're going to get more and more traffic to that piece of content, is that you are creating the content in a way that people are going to find when they are looking for a solution for this problem. So this is the mistake a lot of you are making. I need you to really hear me on this. Is you have an idea for an angle in a way that you want to talk about something. So you create content on that. But nobody's searching anything where that content would show up the way that you're doing it right now. You have to make sure that if you want to have the impact that you're trying to have, you have to stop being so selfish on what you want to talk about. That's important. That's one checkbox that we need to check off, okay? You can start there even. But then we need to go, okay, when people are struggling with this, we need to really work that empathy muscle. When people are in my target market are struggling with this topic, and again, the topic I'm going to talk about in the next episode. So I'm again, open loop, closing the loop. You need to listen to the next episode. I'm not going to talk about like how to come up with topics in this episode. I really want to talk to you about like why the content works. And by works, I mean like attracts traffic and leads to sales. The way that we get it to attract that traffic is we're thinking about what the actual questions people are asking and how they're asking them that would lead to me being able to answer that question in this topic. Ultimately, I'm leading you to SEO, right? Like we're talking about SEO strategy here, but I don't think that you're ultimately right now going, oh my God, how do I have great SEO? Like there might be a little part of you that's like, yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'd love to do that. But what I need you to understand is much more like steps back. We need to take it a few steps back. It's not about SEO. It's about you working that empathy muscle and deeply, I'm about to open another loop here, okay? Deeply understanding your target client. And if you don't deeply understand your target client, then you cannot create forever content. You cannot come up with great topics. The thing I'm going to drive home in this episode and in the next one, where I'm going to teach you my epic content matrix for coming up with infinite, literally infinite content ideas, strategic ones, is that this marketing piece is not the next step for most of you. Now, I know that this is the content that you're going to be, this is going to do the best in search and performance for me, because everybody thinks they have a marketing problem. But what I know, because I do these client booking machine assessments with everybody, and when I work with my clients, I'm always assessing their client booking machines, which is the process that I teach, is that you think if you just have more visibility and you put yourself out there more and you create more consistent content, then that's going to lead to more clients. But the truth of the matter is your offer right now, you haven't nailed down the positioning, meaning the way to talk about your offer that makes it a no-brainer for people to hire you. Once you do that, the content topics and the content writes itself. This content wrote itself because I know exactly what the problems are that my ideal clients are Googling, and how me answering that topic is, I can create an open loop that is going to lead to sales. But if you are guessing, if you're not sure, if you have ideas for content and you're putting that out there, as one client literally just messaged me in our Slack group before this saying like, I'm sending out emails, but I have no plan. So it's like, I'm checking that box, and that's great. I do think that's a great first step. But if it's not strategic topics, yes, next episode, I'm going to talk about strategic topics that are also the piece of content itself is going to attract more people to you and is going to get people who are there to take the next action, then it's just an exercise in creating an email or creating a podcast or YouTube video or a blog post, but it's not actually going to lead to results. Okay, so again, that's what this episode is all about. I really want you to understand the anatomy of a piece of forever content that is going to lead to results. So these are the three things that you need to do. I know I've kind of touched on everything already, but I want to distill it down so that you can take this away and have some action steps, okay? The first thing that you need to do is you need to do your positioning on your content, all right? So your positioning is going to come from the positioning that you have for your signature service, your signature offer. And if your signature offer is not validated yet, meaning you haven't had at least 3 full price paying clients for a signature offer that is the same for everybody, right? That's the offer that you're trying to sell. then it's not validated, which means your positioning is not validated. And that's what I want to teach you in the client booking machine. I'm going to leave a link for you around this content, wherever you're seeing it, to sign up for my client booking machine masterclass. It's on how to build your client booking machine, because you have to have the structure there, or you're going to create a bunch of marketing that does not lead to clients. And I'm telling you, if you have not had 3 full price paying clients for your signature offer, then that is your first step. There are no exceptions. In fact, even if you have, I would go do that step first. And everybody wants to avoid that. But my question to you is, if you're trying to jump into the content creation, do you want to create content, or do you want results? Because if you want results, meaning you want to book clients, go watch that training. Okay. In that training, I give you an offer for my program, Yay for Clients. That's where I teach you like the step-by-step process for actually building the machine. And then if you decide to work with me there, that's a self-study program. In my coaching program, the 6-Figure Sprint, that's where I work with you in a high-ticket group coaching program in order to implement that over time and to build your 6-figure service-based business in the next 12 months. Okay. So those are the ways that you work with me, and see how I'm connecting it. Your content for your business needs to be reverse engineered from your signature offer to lead people to the signature offer. It's not just, oh, I'm a wedding photographer, so I'm going to write blog posts about wedding photography. No, that's not good enough. It's, I'm a wedding photographer, and specifically, I'm a wedding photographer maybe in this area, and I want to attract couples in this area who are in this psychology. These are the questions that they're Googling, that they're asking, whether it's things they're Googling or things that they're wondering or objections they have or misconceptions. That's all stuff that I'm going to go over in the next episode, where I go over how to come up with these infinite strategic content ideas. Right now, I just want you to understand how important that is. Then, only then am I going to have enough. If I've validated that offer and I know that's what it is, now I can come up with those content ideas based on that positioning that's going to lead to sales, and reverse engineer that SEO or whatever that is that's going to have people finding my content in the first place. Okay. So that's positioning. Okay. That's your rainbow of sales. You got to nail that down. Okay. The second thing that you need to have is infinite strategic topic ideas. That's what next week's episode is going to be all about. What we're going to do there is I'm going to show you how to take that positioning, which that's why you need to go do the client booking machine first. You're going to take that positioning and we're going to turn it into a matrix of infinite content ideas that are strategic, that are going to lead to sales. This is it's like the holy grail of where you're going to go every time that you're trying to map out a content plan for your business. If you're like, I want to map out weekly content ideas for the next 12 weeks, you're going to go to your epic content matrix, and that is where you're going to pull your content ideas from. So it's a very important exercise. It's a very important asset for your business in order to make sure you're not just pulling content ideas out of thin air. Now, you don't create a content matrix and all of a sudden now I know what my 12 exact titles of blog posts or whatever are going to be. That's not it either, right? We've got to make sure that then we're running it through the system to make sure that it's going to get visibility and sales, so that we're mapping out our content in a way that's going to do that. We're mapping out each piece. That's what we're going to do at the Forever Content Ecosystem training. All right. And then we're going to talk about, okay, now we actually have to create that content and produce it in a way that we can repurpose it on as many platforms as possible. And the anatomy, so the third piece there is the anatomy of the content, making sure that you treat every piece of content like a sales page. You need to speak to where people are right now. I'm going to put that here. No, here, their cloud, right? Where people are right now is their cloud. What they want is the gold. Then in your content, you're going to paint the rainbow bridge in between the cloud and the pot of gold. Okay. Then you're going to make sure to leave an open loop and tell them the call to action for the next thing you want them to do to close that loop. You can seed your offer like I've done in this podcast. And I love to show you, I love to break that fourth wall and tell you exactly when I'm doing that. Whenever I'm talking about my offers or my workshops, I'm either seeding an offer, which I don't think most people are going to come hire me just from listening to this one episode, unless you already are farther down the line and then you're listening to the episode. So what I really want you to do is the next step is I want you to grab an opt-in offer. I want you to listen to other episodes, or I want you to sign up for my workshop, right? That's why I keep mentioning those things. In next week's episode, I'm going to talk about the how to map out your infinite content topics, right? Strategic content topics, ideas, all right? I'm going to have a worksheet for you there. I'm going to have a really epic freebie for you there. And then you're going to come to the workshop, or you're going to skip that and you're just going to sign up for the workshop right now. And you're going to do all of it and you're going to learn the entire system. I'm holding you by the hand. I'm addressing the psychology of where you're at right now based on the deep work I've done to research I've done to understand where my ideal clients are right now. If you're still listening to this, then I'm resonating with you, right? If someone turned it off, then I'm not. But that's why my podcast leads to sales. My podcast is the thing that leads to more sales than any other asset in my business. Whenever somebody is thinking about working with me, I always try to identify what is the objection they're having, and do I have a podcast episode that they should listen to that would help overcome that objection? And if not, I need to add that to my list of strategic content ideas. All right. So this is a multifaceted machine system that I want you to build. It's not as simple as, oh, I just need to be consistent with creating content, or I just need more ideas for content. You need to understand the complete ecosystem at play here. So first, what I did is I showed you why it's important, why forever content matters. Forget about Instagram for a second. Now I'm telling you, okay, in the actually recent episode, I broke down, okay, this is what I do to make sure that like my content is forever content in all these platforms, right? So I'm giving you I'm pulling you and I'm showing you the pieces. Today I'm like, all right, this is the anatomy of what you need to do in a piece of content in order to make it work. And I'm overcoming like misconceptions and preconceived notions that people have about what makes for a great piece of content. And I'm showing you that there's things you're not thinking of, and that's why your content is not leading to sales and visibility. And then I'm opening a loop, telling you what the next episode is going to be, which I have outlined here that I'm going to record right after this. That is going to be your epic content matrix. And all the while, I'm constantly, whenever possible, relaying that back to other assets in my business to help you to take the next step, to help you to fall down the rabbit hole in my content ecosystem, whether that means listening to or consuming more free content, getting freebies, signing up for my workshops, or deciding to work with me in Yay for Clients or the 6-figure sprint. I'm tying it all together. So that's what I'm teaching you to do. It's so fun to do that in the content because I love when it's meta and I get to tell you what to do and then be like, and I'm doing it right now and here's how. I'm going to leave that here. I'm going to tie that in a bow for today's episode. Let me just make sure that I tie this all together. Ooh, the thing I want to remind you of, I'm going to tie it back to the 6-figure sprint. I'm going to tie it back to Yay for Clients of building that client booking machine is, because I already mentioned this, but I got to tie that bow on it, is if you don't have an established client booking machine, i.e. 3 full price paying clients for your signature service, content is not your next step. If you want to establish your forever content, by all means, show up, consume my content here, get your forever content going, but just know that your main focus needs to be building that machine. That's what you're going to learn in the Build Your Client Booking Machine masterclass. I'll tell you all about Yay for Clients there. That's the curriculum that you're going to need to implement no matter what, whether you just do Yay for Clients or you join me and work with me in the 6-figure sprint. And so that's like, I just want to make sure that's clear. I'm talking to you guys a lot about forever content right now because I know that people want to know the marketing side, but I have to contextualize it and how it fits into the bigger picture. And if you're skipping steps, you're going to have pain. And what that pain is going to look like is putting a lot of time and effort into creating content and still not getting clients because you still haven't nailed the positioning for your offer, even if you think you have. So if you're not sure about that, I want you to come apply for the 6-figure sprint. For everyone who applies for the 6-figure sprint, I'm doing a 10-ish minute review of your client booking machine that will essentially tell you, are you ready to focus on forever content or not? I think everyone can get started with it, but are you really ready for this to be a focus for you or not? And what I'll tell you in that video is, where is the next step for you? What is the next piece for you to focus on? Where's the leak in your machine, and what do you need to do to build it? And then it's up to you if you want to like do that with the resources that I have available working with me or not, but at least you'll have clarity on what that next step is. So go ahead. There's lots of, resources and calls to action at your disposal here. Now you know what I'm doing when I'm sharing that. I'm sharing with you to be helpful, but I'm also like, oh, I got to tie it to the next step. What's the next thing for them? Because I'm not here to leave you hanging. I'm here to hold you by the hand and take you to where you want to go, as far as you want to go on that journey with me, in order to help you to get that result, being your 6-figure business with your signature service. All right, I will talk to you in the next episode. I'm going to go record that now, and I'll see you then.